Hello and welcome to Dolan Unfiltered, where we talk off the cuff and nothing is off the table. I hope you're having a great day. I hope all is well. What do you think of the backdrop, by the way? Let me know in the comments. Well, breaking news, the world's least happy millionaire, Prince Harry, strikes again. That's right, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, believes that his police protection in the UK was deliberately withdrawn to prevent him and Meghan from leaving Britain. Because, of course, they're such an adorable couple. They're so irresistible. They were so essential to British public life that we couldn't possibly live without them. Even though when they were serving royals, it was just a permanent moan-a-thon, wasn't it? Do you remember how unhappy they were with Frogmore Cottage? Which, by the way, is not a cottage. It is a sprawling mansion in a beautiful country estate. You and I could only dream of living in Frogmore Cottage. They spent millions redecorating it to Meghan's exacting standards, by the way, at the taxpayers' expense. But none of it was good enough. Meghan was bored out of her mind opening hospital wings and primary schools. And Harry, well, I just think the whole thing did not play out the way they wanted it to. And the idea that somehow they were such a valuable asset to the royal family that the Queen would withdraw armed protection in order to keep them here, I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. He said the moment that he was informed of the withdrawal of police protection, he said it was difficult to swallow. Well, you know, we were aware, aren't we? We know that Harry is not the sharpest tool in the box, but he could have realised that if he left the UK and gave up his royal duties, that he would not have armed protection in this country. He's told the Telegraph newspaper that his worst fears have been confirmed by secret court evidence. What are these fears? This guy spends too much time thinking about himself. It's like, Harry, get over yourself. Harry needs a job, doesn't he? Because he's left the charity, which is a complete shambles, and I don't think reflects well on him. I know that there are claims of corruption. That's not his fault, but I think he was asleep at the wheel. He'd barely been to visit the charity a couple of times in the last 5 years. So I think he was phoning it in, and I think that he's paid the price for that. And he's got Invictus. The guy's not busy enough, and I think he should have a job. He's obviously quite a posh bloke, so maybe he needs to work in Whole Foods, because that's a very upmarket supermarket, and he could just, do it, because, he's no genius, is he? He could maybe fill the bags, take people's groceries to their car and help them with a bit of basic, a few basic skills like that, I think are a very doable thing for Harry. Going back to where we are with this, Harry is suing the UK government and the Home Office to reinstate his taxpayer-funded security. He apparently considers this more important than his legal crusade against the press. This is the one that always mattered the most, he said. But look, this guy's at war with everyone. He's the angriest man, as well as the least happy millionaire. He claims that the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, RAVEC, did not follow its own policies, singled him out for unjustified and inferior treatment, and he was insulted by the fact that if he came to the UK, the bespoke protection, which, by the way, you and I, again, can only dream of having, but the bespoke protection that he was going to get involved he and Meghan giving the authorities 30 days notice. That's not unreasonable, is it? That's not unreasonable to say, right, I'll be coming in 4 weeks' time and we'll need full royal protection, which was basically on the table. So it's not true when Harry says that this had all been withdrawn and that if he came to the UK, he'd have to wear a bulletproof vest. It's not true. Arrangements would have been made. And also, if he cared to spend any time with members of his own family, he would be safe then because they have the armed protections. All he's got to do is go and visit his old man and go and visit his brother and sister-in-law and visit, maybe Prince Andrew is a bit of a stretch. That's an awkward conversation, isn't it? But the bottom line is that it's quite clear Harry would have been protected by the authorities on making these UK visits, but he wants to do his own thing. And in many ways, he's seizing on this story as an opportunity to once again feel terribly sorry for himself. Apparently, he believes that the removal of protection was a orchestrated attempt to force the couple to remain within the institution by making return visits difficult or dangerous. Now, don't give me this dangerous line. Harry's just got back from Ukraine. So he's in court fighting the UK Home Office for police protection because apparently it's so unsafe in the UK. Meanwhile, he goes to a country that's literally at war. Okay, a cursory glance through your daily newspaper feed will tell you. Do you still get newspaper feeds? What is that? A quick glance on the internet, on the BBC News website, will tell you that Ukraine was invaded by a country called Russia and a dastardly figure called Vladimir Putin, who I find actually slightly less triggering than Prince Harry these days. And, well, at least Putin doesn't moan about his terrible life, does he? He gets on with it. He's a terrible human being, but, you know, he's not the world's least happy millionaire, is he? Not like old H-bomb, my husband. Oh, my husband. Oh, no, they made us stay here. They took away the policeman. Mr. Policeman was taken away. And there was no protection at all. I felt so unsafe. And we had to stay in England. Oh, so unfair. My husband was not safe. He was not safe in any way, shape, or form. Oh, nobody. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta. Huck dang, summer in the city. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. So, what are we going to do about this? The Harry story is ridiculous. Harry said that they were, and this is a direct quote, we were trying to create this happy house. He's talking about his time in the UK. There was nothing happy about that house. The two of them are a very bitter pairing. And I think, by the way, they enable each other. And I think they work each other up into a frenzy. Do you know what I mean? Because we had that over the issue about what the baby would look like, which is a conversation that every family in the history of the universe has had. Will the baby look like the mum or the dad? What qualities, what features will they take after? But apparently this was an act of extreme prejudice and the awful accusation over an unnamed member of the royal family. That's not creating a happy house, is it? But Harry told Meghan that this is a conversation he'd heard about what will the baby look like. Meghan reacts furiously and uses the R word. Of course she does, because she's built for this narrative of, you know, they're out to get me and they're all horrible people. And she then gets Harry worked up and upset about it, and they egg each other on into a frenzy, and they've been doing that ever since. So we were trying to create this happy house. Now, Harry doesn't know anything about creating happiness. He's a misery guts, and he's brought misery on his own family. It's one thing for him to moan and for Harry and he to be a toxic dynamic, but can you not do it to other people? Poor William looks like a haunted figure as a result of the treachery of his own brother. I mean, I don't think he'll ever get over that disloyalty, the scorched earth policy that we saw from Harry and Meghan. So the idea that the royals were doing everything they could to trap Harry and Meghan in the gilded cage of Frogmore Cottage and Buckingham Palace is just nonsense. So he also has said, he told the Telegraph, he implied that his father, the king, could intervene via his private secretary, Sir Clive Alderton, to provide that royal security. Now, the palace have rejected that. They completely reject the idea that the monarch can and should be involved in judicial matters. Of course he can't. And can you imagine the negative headlines if King Charles started telling judges what to do? It would be like Henry VIII all over again, wouldn't it? Without sort of, you know, the chicken drumsticks being thrown through the air and the many wives. How many wives did he have, by the way? Was it 6 wives, 8 wives? Very few men can survive one. He was a bit of a glutton for punishment, wasn't he? King Henry VIII, a tyrannical figure, although I think he won a lot of wars, which is not bad. And, you know, it was a time when Britain had a bit of national pride. We had something about us, didn't we, under Henry VIII? I wonder whether we could find such a figure in the near future. I don't think Keir Starmer quite fits the bill. He doesn't even eat chicken drumsticks. He's a vegetarian, for God's sakes, and I think it shows. But there you go. So look, we've got some quotes and statements about what's been said. People will be shocked by what's being held back, is a quote from the Duke. My worst fears have been confirmed by legal disclosure. That's really sad, he said. He's exhausted and overwhelmed by the process. We're exhausted too. I'm exhausted by this couple. It's affecting my mental health. I've got Harry and Meghan PTSD. I've had to watch With Love Meghan 8 excruciating hours of so-called television. Now I've started Meghan's podcast. There's a review of that on a previous video. Do check it out, which was torture. And we've had the book and it's just, so don't, please tell me, Harry, that you're exhausted. We're all exhausted and overwhelmed by this couple. You've brought all of this on yourselves. And Meghan did not need to marry a prince. When she, in inverted commas, fell in love with Harry, I don't think she fell in love with Harry. I don't. I think she fell in love with his royal title. I think she fell in love with his fame. I think she fell in love with his wealth. I think she fell in love with his position. That's what she fell in love with. I actually think Harry was hoodwinked by Meghan, and I do think he fell in love with her, and I think he was attracted to her, and she leveraged that. And of course, he lacked that mother figure, having lost Diana so tragically in 97. I think Meghan picked up on that and capitalized. And so here we are today. The couple got married. Harry's paid a huge price, as we know. But the bottom line is that this court case is really, really unnecessary. And apparently, even a legal victory would not compel this Ravek organization to actually change its policy permanently anyway. So just to take you through the history of it, it was in early January 2020 that the Sussexes announced that they were stepping back from royal duties. So why it was a surprise they lost their security is anyone's guess. At the Sandringham summit 5 days later, they were assured by the Queen's private secretary, Sir Edward Young, that they would receive royal security due to the threat of extremists. Although, frankly, I'm more nervous for the extremists than I am for Harry and Meghan, who are much more tyrannical and authoritarian and terrifying. Then in February, on February the 28th, Ravek, which is this body that decides about security, decided that protection will end. The decision stated the Sussexes' private life abroad does not fit readily into any existing framework. Too true. But this couple don't like reality, and they don't live in it, do they? As they rattle around that 16-bathroom Montecito mansion. There's been a reaction. Harry has said the decision imposed was punishment for him protecting his family and putting them first. When has Harry ever put the family first? Look what he's done to the Windsors. He's furious about it, demanded to know who was behind the decision. So there you are, folks. It's been a really, really horrible story. It's very, very sad. Harry's not going to win one way or the other. He's on a hiding to nothing. And these are more negative headlines, which make it even harder for him and the family to reconcile. I think there's hope for Harry and Charles, but Harry and William, I think that's it. I think they're done, which is so sad, because if there's one relationship you want, it's with your only brother, having lost your mother so tragically under such tragic circumstances. Harry and William should be the best of mates. But Harry has allowed himself to be bewitched by Meghan, and then he's turned on the family, turned on the country. And it's just such a bad look for a figure like Harry to be in the courts like this, battling away for his royal security. It's just a reality check, Harry. You left the royal family. You rejected the country. You've been very rude about the country. You said that your father, Charles, was a rubbish dad. You revealed intimate details about fights with your own brother that should have stayed behind closed doors. What do you expect that they've withdrawn your privileges? That's how it works. That is life, isn't it? Life comes with consequences. We all know that we are subject to the consequences of our actions, of our behaviors. And I'm afraid Harry is finding out the hard way that he is no different. I've got bad news for you, though, by the way, because he may now use this terrible court case, especially if it doesn't go his way, to go public with his anger about the whole thing, which means there may be a second book, Spare 2, which is good news, because the first one I've got is an excellent doorstop for my bedroom door, so I could do with a second one for my spare bedroom. Very handy. And also maybe another podcast, and a public statement has not been ruled out. Well, you can do as many statements as you like, but Harry, you know what they say? If you're in a hole, it's best to stop digging. There you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed this Dolan Unfiltered. I'll see you for the next one. Stay awesome and bye for now.